All right, if you found this video, you're looking for an SC1000 MK2 tutorial, manual, something that tells you how to use this thing, and you've been like me and you've come up completely empty-handed. Why there's not a manual for this or something online that explains how to use it is beyond me. The information is spread kind of scattered throughout the internet and through Reddit, so we're going to take care of that now. There is an official manual video. Why it's unlisted and you can't search for it is beyond me. I don't know. So here we go. This is your SC1000 MK2 manual. We're going to start off talking about firmware. A lot of these shipped with firmware version 1.7 alpha. We are now at 1.7 beta. For you to update your firmware, and this will be linked in the description below, because for whatever reason, their firmware information is not on their website. I don't understand this. We'll put it in the link below. And follow these instructions. You're going to download the file, you'll unzip it, and you're going to take the contents of the unzipped folder, not the folder itself, the contents of the unzipped folder, and put it in the root directory of the USB stick. And these things do ship with the USB stick. You'll put the USB stick back in your SC, and then you'll make sure it's plugged in and plug in the headphones. You're going to hold down the beat volume or beat select, depending on if you have a 500 or a 1000. This is a 1000, so this is your beat select. You're going to hold down the beat select, and then while you keep it held down, you're going to turn it on. After about 20 seconds or so, you'll hear a message saying that the SC1000 has been updated. Then you just turn it off and turn it back on again, and you're good to go. If you want to know what your current firmware is, and we'll do this right now, I'll show you what my current firmware is. You're going to turn the SC on while the beats volume, which is this side, is turned up, and the samples is turned down. And then you're going to hold the sample select button right here while you power on your SC, and you'll hear a message saying what it is. So we're going to do that now. To do that, you have to plug in your SC into an audio source. I don't quite know why this is, and you're about to hear it, but when this is not powered on, it creates a horrible loop hum. So you'll hear that for a little while, but as soon as it powers on, it goes silent. So you're going to plug this in, hold down your sample select with your beats turned up, with your samples turned down, and power it on, and it will tell you what your firmware is. So here we go. There's that hum I'm talking about. Hold down the sample select and power it on.
.7 beta. Firmware version 1.7 beta.
And there
Firmware
you go.
version 1.7 beta. Firmware version.
Turn it back off, and you're going to get that hum back again. We're going to turn it back on because now we're going to get into the tutorial. But that is your firmware update. Firmware information will be listed in the description below. So here we go. You've got a beat select, these two buttons here. They'll let you cycle through whatever beat you have in your beats folder. When you put your USB into your computer, you'll see two folders in your directories. One is for beats and one is for samples. On the SC1000 MK2, you will just drop your beats in there. I suggest you put a number in front of the name of the beats that you put in because they're going to go in either alphabetical or numerical order when they play. And for whatever reason, there is a way to do this using MIDI. We're not going to get into MIDI because I haven't done this. This is a basic manual for the unit itself. There's not a way to stop the beat playback, but you can cycle through it using these two buttons. The bottom button goes forward in your playlist. The top button goes backwards. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you just want to use scratch samples and you don't want the internal beats to play, you just turn down your beat volume, and yes, it will be playing in the background, but you'll never hear it. It's a little rudimentary, but it does work and it's perfectly fine. There's another folder for samples. It works the same way. If you want to put your list of samples in a particular order, put numbers in front of them and then number it as needed. It will load in whatever order you put them in. If you want to cycle through, you use the bottom, cycle back, use the top, and volume will do the same. There is a text file that will let you customize a lot of these settings, how sensitive the platter is, meaning like how fast it rotates digitally, and things like that. So go ahead. You can actually do anything you want in that text file. If you screw something up and you want to go back, just reload the text file onto your thumb drive and it will be totally fine. So don't worry about screwing that up. A couple of things to know about. So let's listen to the beat. There's a beat playing, and you'll notice that there's no there's nothing with the crossfader on the beat, right? There is a way to change that. You can get the crossfader to cut the beat, but you have to do that in that text file I had mentioned. That will be in the firmware update. Again, you have to go to that will be listed in the description below. For samples, we're going to. So here's your samples, right? And I've got different samples set to cue points. And you have a start-stop button right here. Okay, and that starts and stops, and you can change how fast it starts and stops, so you can get kind of a drag on things like that. And you have a shift button right here. And the shift button is used to setting cue points. So let's find a cue point. Oh, let's say I like that stab. Okay. I like that stab. I want that stab to be on this cue button. I'm going to hold down shift with my thumb, and I'm going to press that cue button. That'll set it. Now I've got that cue point. It's that simple. So that's all you have to do to set a cue point. The crossfader is really interesting, at least how it's stock. I'm kind of, I'm left-handed, so when it comes to scratching, so I scratch on the platter with my left hand. I use my right hand on the fader, and I don't normally hamster scratch, meaning reverse crossfader. So that's typically how I scratch. However, there isn't a reverse button for the crossfader. If you want to reverse, you just go to the other side. The crossfader only cuts out of the box on the scratch side of it. So that's something to keep in mind. As the platter rotates, I think it's conductive on how it stops. Like if you're wearing gloves, this thing doesn't stop. If you put something between your hand and the metal plate, it'll just keep going, which sometimes means like if your hands are cold or very dry, it doesn't connect properly. So like warm up your hands or something. I don't know. But you'll notice sometimes if it's in play mode, it'll push itself forward. If you want it completely accurate, you can actually get really good accuracy if you just stop the platter. Again, this platter does not rotate, so it functions, if you're an older DJ like myself, it kind of functions like the CD1000s when they first came out. There's no rotating platter. You just kind of do it by feel. They added this cue line here, and I'm here to tell you that cue line is, to me, absolutely useless, because you think that, okay, if it's lined up here, this button to this line would be where that sample starts. And that's true as long as the platter is not in play mode. But the second it's in play mode, you're going to get lost with it. So do with that information what you will. I actually find it easier to scratch on this thing if I'm not looking at it, but that obviously takes a little bit of practice. It does have a fantastic smooth Inno fader in it. You can get some really harsh cuts on it, really like clean cuts on it. There are edits for the fader inside of that text document that you would load on your USB as well. So those are the basics for how you utilize the SC1000. And if you, like I said, if you're listening to beats, let's turn the beats up again. If I want to cycle through beats, I just do so by pressing back and forth on the, I just cycle through using the buttons, okay? And the same thing goes for the scratch. Now let's talk about file formats. Yes, you can put MP3s on this. It doesn't sound the best. What does sound good on this is 16 by 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz in wave format, stereo. If it's mono, you get weird speed issues. If it's a different, if it's like you're using 48 kilohertz or something like that as your sample rate, you're going to get weird speed issues. If you're using a different bit rate, you're going to get artifact issues, things like that. It will play MP3, and you're going to be tempted to do that. Convert whatever your samples are over to wave. You're going to get a much smoother sound. You're going to get a much better scratch. Other than that, that's pretty much everything you need to know out of the box to get started with the SC1000 MK2. If you have other questions, leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them. If I've missed anything, I will reshoot this video because there needs to be some type of publicly available manual for this. I, again, just am kind of surprised at such a really cool, fun unit, but there's just so little information out there on the internet for it. So hopefully that helps. That's it. Until next time, enjoy your SC1000 MK2. Peace.